So the final series of lessons on education are about the actual education, the school system in the UK since the Second World War. So we start off with a lesson on what's called the tripartite system, the workings of the British education system from 1944 to about 1965, only about. Keyword 11 plus exam, grammar, academic, technical, secondary modern, vocational to do with jobs, success, failure and unfair. So, looks like this. In the exam, you get questions like that. Discuss the idea that education opportunity has improved in the last years. If it's 70 years, you talk about what we're doing today. If it's 10, you don't mention it. If you do, you get no marks. You've got to learn the history here or you're going to fail. Right, so let's go. In our culture, the main way of moving within the class pyramid, in the class system, is meant to be through education. If you are clever and you work hard, then you move up. You parents can be working class and you can become a doctor. If you are stupid and lazy, then you do badly. This is fair. It's meritocratic. It's a meritocracy. How hard you work, how clever you are, determines where you finish up. Therefore, schools and how they are run is very important to our culture. So, after World War II, in 1944, the government, brought in the tripartite system, meaning 3 types of secondary schools. To get into these schools, all kids at the end of primary school sat an exam called the 11 plus. Very similar to the SATs exams you all did, but it was called the 11 plus. The difference is that they used the results of this exam to tell you which school you were allowed to go to. There was zero parental choice. Nobody cared what your parents thought about what school you should go to. You sat the exam. A few weeks later, you got the results, and they told you what school you had to go to. If you'd done well, if you were in the top 20%, you got sent to a local grammar school. And in this school, you did English, maths, physics, chemistry, biology, not science. You did Latin, you did geography, you did history, you did sport. You did not do DT. You did not do textiles. You did not cook anything. All academic subjects. Then, there were technical schools. The next 10% of kids would go to technical schools, learn engineering type skills. This type of school never really existed. They didn't build them. For everybody else, for everybody who didn't get to grammar school, in reality, you went to a secondary one. It looked a bit like this, a bit like the school you sat in right now. They taught a bit of English, a bit of maths, a bit of science, but mostly vocational courses. They did woodwork, metalwork. Girls were taught to cook and clean and iron clothes. It's all vocational stuff. It was meant to be. It was the right thing for you. The idea was that the 11 plus exam found out what you were best at. So the academic kids went to grammar school because that was what was right for them. Most kids went to a secondary modern because that was what was right for them. If they couldn't read and write properly, you shouldn't teach them Latin. It's meritocratic. It's all based on the 11 plus exam. In theory, this sounds fair. Because everyone sits the same exam, gets a chance, and if your parents are not very well off, if you're working class and you're clever, you can escape. You can go to a grammar school and become a doctor. In reality, it was not fair for several reasons. One, people generally looked down at secondary moderns. They thought if you'd gone to them, it's because you were a failure. You were labelled at a very young age as a loser, as stupid. You had your chance and you'd blown it. So lots of labelling went on. Resources. If 20% of kids went to grammar schools and 80% of kids went to secondary modern, that should have been the split for money from the government, but it wasn't. It was more like 50-50. So the grammar schools, with 20% of the kids, got half of all the money. So they could pay teachers good wages, have small classes, buy lots of books. Secondary modern schools, with 80% of the kids, didn't have enough money. So they couldn't pay very well, couldn't have enough teachers, couldn't have enough resources. And thirdly, like everything else in the UK, there was a massive class bias. Getting into a grammar school was massively important. So passing 11 plus was massively important. So middle class parents worked hard to make sure that their idiot kids passed 11 plus. Back to this chart. You take 11 plus at this age, 122 months. As you can see, if it is correct, by the time it comes along, the stupid rich kid has passed and the clever poor kid has failed. So there's a big class bias.